Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about kind of an interesting little development that happened over the weekend, and something that I think might be good for the film industry if theaters decided to pursue it. Now, this is going to be about the drive-in. Now, the thing is that drive-ins were really, really popular through the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and then it started to wane off in the 90s and drop out even further. Really, at their height, it was probably around the late 50s, early 60s is when there was the most of them. Now there's only a little over 300 left in the country. That number may be a little off. I'm not giving an exact number because it might be a little bit off from what it is, but it's a little over 300 at least at last count. So IFC or the Independent Film Channel premiered a horror film in drive-throughs called The Wicked. Now, this film also wound up going direct to video on demand, so it's also getting money from that. But the amount that it actually got from the drive-ins was almost $1 million, which is a large amount of money, especially when you're only counting about 300 drive-ins, and I don't know the capacity of all those drive-ins either. Now, the reason why the drive-in kind of waned off was because a lot of places kind of they started to get more they started to kind of the multiplexes and the cinemas, instead of having one or two movies a night, a multiplex can show 20 films in an hour. So it's something that, as far as ease of use, a drive-through might not be showing the movie you want, but a cinema probably is. Or you can see it online, you can see it through an on-demand video service, you can see it at home from some means, you can see it on home media eventually and stuff like that. So there's a lot of options in terms of watching a movie. But the reason why I bring up drive-ins is because there's a lot of worry about cinemas right now in regards to reopening and social distancing and trying to control that and also comply with various government regulations. So drive-ins don't have to worry about that problem because everybody's in their own car. Uh, you know, drive-ins would, I don't think all of them would, but a lot of them would sell concessions. A lot of people would bring their own stuff, which again is another reason why the drive-in kind of failed over time, because those big cinemas were bringing in a lot of money because they were jacking up prices on the concessions that they were serving. Whereas, most movie theaters do not allow you to bring in your own food and drink. They make you pay. Or they make you leave it outside or something before you go in the theater. You can't actually bring it in the theater with you, and they have a little FDA excuse for that. But in reality, it's because they want to sell you overpriced popcorn with yellow lard on it and a Coke, among various other things. So that's one of the other drawbacks that it had originally. But the advantage that it has right now is you don't need to redesign the drive-in for social distancing because it works just the way it is. Everybody's in their own, like I said, everybody's in their own car. You're all spaced apart. The people that are in the same car, they don't need a social distance because assumingly they live together or they know each other or they're in close proximity to each other already. So it doesn't really make sense not to. So, you can take the whole family out to a movie and pull into a drive-in, and maybe you could have bring some snacks with you, bring some chips and some popcorn and stuff, and sit down and watch a movie. Watch a couple of movies because usually drive-ins will show, a prime time, usually a normal matinee or a double feature or something like that. So you'll get usually a nice expensive movie or a newer film, and then you'll get kind of probably a lower budgeted film, maybe a different genre, or something that pairs well with the first film on the ticket. And then usually late at night, maybe you'll get some of the grindhouse stuff. The really kind of bloody and gory and nasty horror films that the drive-in got really known for in the 80s. And that was kind of the other thing, too, even though they were late night things, is that a lot of people complained about the drive-ins because the drive-ins would show movies that the cinemas wouldn't. The drive-ins would show a lot of the very low-budgeted horror films. Night of the Living Dead, I believe its first screening was at a drive-in. A lot of lower budgeted horror movies immediately went to the drive-in circuit because it was very easy for them to get that film in, especially if it had a certain element for shock value. And basically they would put it up at probably something like 11 o'clock at night or something like that, or midnight or 1 in the morning for people to watch. Now, I don't necessarily think the drive-in is going to make a comeback, but I do think that it would be interesting to see if any kind of cinema chains like AMC or Regal or why am I Showtime cinemas, if any of those cinemas would think about maybe implementing some kind of a drive-in format. A lot of them have their own parking lots that are dedicated to them that they own. You could very easily set up a drive-in those type of areas. You could still sell your concessions. Everything could be outside. You could have multiple screens going at the same time. The only thing that you may have an issue with is the idea of, okay, you have to have everybody has to have the audio receiver in the car so they can actually hear the movie. Um, Now, in the old days, they used to have a little speaker that was next to your car, and you had to roll down the window, and that's where the audio from the movie would come out so people could hear it. I believe at one point they also had ones that you could clip inside your window and close the window so other people couldn't hear it. I'm not sure which ones of those were in use. I assume the clip-on one was later on in like the 80s and stuff, and the earlier ones were in the 50s and 60s. But the only thing that's really the only hang up that you would have is doing that, which really wouldn't be that big of an issue in a digital age. You could probably get that done pretty easily, um, you know, and bring some stuff in. So really, all you would need to do is set up a film screen in a parking lot, and get all these devices so that you could fill up the parking lot with cars and people could watch the movies. And again, their cinemas. It wouldn't be that difficult to set up a projector and stuff outside and do what you have to do, again, as long as weather withstanding and stuff like that. But I think I would like that idea, because the thing is, as much of a movie person as I am, I've never been to a drive-through, and it's mostly because there's not a lot near me. I think the nearest one is in Vermont or something, but or maybe like the North Shore of Massachusetts or something like that. But I've never had the urge to actually go out and sit in one, because there really hasn't been one readily available. I would like to try it out, and I think it would be an interesting idea for theaters, and maybe kind of a gimmicky thing to get people back in and watching movies, and then eventually you can gravitate people back into the building once all the hysteria and stuff is kind of calmed down to a point where we can start sitting in groups again. But that's kind of just an interesting take I have on this, about maybe we might see a minor resurgence in drive-ins. But I want to know what you think. Did you used to like the old drive-ins? Do you miss that kind of a format for watching movies, or a setting, I should say? What was your, if you did watch a drive-in movie, what was your, or if you've watched multiple of them, what was your favorite movie that you watched at the drive-in? Um, and do you think this might be a legitimate business thing that theaters might be able to do? Like I think maybe it would be an interesting idea. But again, I want to know what you think. So put your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?